If you guys don't know, the devs of Grand Summers were at Anime Expo, and they showed off a bunch of different things, and one of those things including the new Simon, along with a few different quality of life things and stuff coming to the game. But as you see here, Phantom Sniper Zero Eternal Distance is going to be the event with Simon, and it says this is the story of how that enchanted projectile, the Phantom Bullet, came to be. I actually thought this was already explained, but I guess it wasn't yet. I haven't read the story in God knows how long. But one thing that doesn't need no explanation is that boy Simon, because he got that shit on, man. I love how he looks right here, like with this unawoken art. This might be the art I use him in. It reminds me so much of like Van Helsing. This crazy, like gothic, steampunky style gun. We got all the ripped clothing and everything. I mean, I'm just gonna say it, man. I don't know what he did before Miranda, but the boy let himself go before he was with Miranda. He's got the long hair and all that. I mean, he really was not taking care of himself, you know. I mean, look at his clothes, bro. Miranda must have straightened him out really quick. But even though his art looks cool, and actually now since I looked at it, I think that might be his Ascended art, because look at his abilities here. There's more art right there, and that might be his Unawoken, unless that is Ascended. Either way, these are his abilities. He is heavily focused on being a damage dealer, which I think is somewhat of a good call for them when it came to making this guy, since he is going to be a global first character. They probably didn't want him to be insanely broken to make it seem like you had to summon for him. And it's more so like if you summon for him, he's going to be pretty good. But either way, I do think this character by default will be pretty strong, just based on the kit alone. So as you see here, he has quite a bit of things happening, especially with damage. Ability, every time he takes out an enemy, he gets 50% damage, and he caps out at 1,000. So that means you need to take out 20 enemies, 20 baddies, before you have the max 1,000% damage, which is insane. The skill is able to give you 20 arc gauge, but it's based on the current battle number. By battle number, I'm pretty sure they mean like stage number in the quest. So if you're on like stage 3 of 3, then you'll get 60 art gauge. But if you're on stage like 2, then you only get 40, and so on and so on. As for the art, it's able to buff up Simon's art gauge when he's not in a status element. That's a little weird, but you also reduce the enemy's dark res by 30%, and that thing is stackable. The true art's giving you art gauge whenever he's not in a status element, and then it also buffs up his super art damage and his origin bullet damage by 150% after this true art is used. As you see, you can do it a max of 5 times, and the stacks reset on use. By default, Simon is already going to be having a ton of additional damage, and if you actually got this to stack up 5 times, and that's 750% damage on top of if you were able to take out 20 enemies, that's 1750% damage. Holy. So his super art ignores the enemy's defense by 100% for 45 seconds, but it does a 200,000% dark damage physical, and then he has the origin bullet, only once per quest, 300,000% dark damage physical, double the damage against enemies with 50% or less HP, quadruples the damage against enemies with 25% or less HP. That's pretty freaking dumb, and I'm almost positive that this is going to be how Jinu's is, where it's dynamic and it scales as the boss's HP goes down. So you don't have to worry about, I'm not going to be able to ever see that quadruple modifier, because you will, towards the tail end of the origin bullet. Some people may want this to be like extremely quick and stuff like that, which I think that would be great, but I also want this to have a long enough duration where it will actually be able to get a lot of usage out of that quadruple damage if we, get close to hitting that. Because having a quadruple damage multiplier, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, 300,000. Ladies and gentlemen, you tell me this thing's about to do 1.2 million% dark damage? That's kind of crazy, that is kind of wild. And the thing is about all this additional damage up, that high multiplier is going to be actually insane. One of these true weapons give you an additional origin bullet. That's actually insane. And the last one is True Dark Prayer. This is able to give you 20% damage and 2 arc gauge. If anything, I think True Black Mask is a bit more of a necessity here. We'll also have to see, the actual skill that they come with, because if the skill is pretty good, then, maybe my opinion will change. I don't think True Dark Prayer is as needed as True Black Mask. But yeah, just on the topic of Simon here, if I'm thinking like where he can be used, some of the crazy damage ups and stuff, like what can we actually do with this guy? If you had a ratio passive, I would say you go the boy Okarun here. But you know what? I still think you go Okarun because he still does apply that physical damage stacking. And I think a character like this, where he wants to take out a lot of enemies and he wants to be used on every wave, would be good with a character like Okarun. Now, the thing is that the teammates you use may differ depending on how good Simon's animations are. If Simon's art is able to go off instantaneously, because if the art's able to go off instantaneously, then I don't think we're going to have a problem getting a lot of kills with Simon to stack up his passive. But using someone like Okarun on the team may be beneficial or detrimental to his overall game plan, depending on how fast he is, because he'll have to take them out. Of course, you can use your own equips and stuff to take them out on Simon, and that should count towards the stacks, but you can only use your equips so much, right? Unless he has, does he have a physical slot? Simon actually does have a physical slot, so you may actually want to run Young Emperor's True Weapon on him. So after using someone like Okaroon, I would probably say going with some type of crit rate would be really good here, whether that be through an equip or provided to you through a unit. And if we're in more long form content, at that point I would go some type of damage mitigation and probably some type of support character you haven't put them on the team yet, like Hoka for an example. And I'm pretty sure with all this, with the crit res down, the crazy crit damage up, the constant physical damage stacking, plus Simon taking out quite a few enemies, and he's being protected by some type of damage mitigation character or whatever, that team's gonna look really impressive. Not to mention Simon's probably gonna be hitting astronomical levels of damage. I don't know if I would say he's gonna be the hardest hitting character in the game, because I have to see whenever this comes out, because it's not just like you put him on your team and he instantly gets that. You kind of have to fulfill the conditions. You have to make sure he takes out enough enemies to get all of his stacking damage bonuses. Not to mention you have to also use your true art to maybe get you even more damage bonuses, or if you feel like you have enough damage ups through your passive alone, you just go into your super art, or not super art, my bad, into your phantom bullet, origin bullet, good lord, and pop off against the enemies. Of course, I think one thing on everybody's mind here would be, oh well, is he required? Is he a must summon? And just based off this kit alone, I would say no, for two reasons. One, he's just a damage dealer. He will deal a lot of damage, but I don't believe it's going to be so much damage where it feels like you need this unit. And two, you don't need a summon for him because JP didn't have him. JP is not going to have this Simon the same time we are. This is going to be, like I mentioned before, a global first character. And since JP never had this Simon, we know for a fact that all future content coming out will not require this Simon to be able to complete it. Will he help out in certain things? Probably, but he's not going to be a requirement for any future content. Now later on, there might be something that comes out he could be really good in, but the only place that I could see this guy thriving as like the undisputed champion, or one of the undisputed champions, will be the mines. In the mines, he's going to be absolutely cracked, but outside of that, we'll have to see how well he does in just everyday content. Now that's all I gotta say about Simon. As for the rest of the stuff they announced, here it is. We got half anniversary forever summons coming in July, which of course this month. We also have the Phantom Sniper Dream Awakenings coming this month. That's really cool. I know Dark Haruto has a pretty beefy one actually. We're gonna get Infernal Ruins Floor 7, upgraded auto sale. I don't know how they could upgrade it even more, but maybe there's something else. Maybe with items or something too that you get from Quest. Really the big update from this entire Anime Expo presentation was Simon actually getting announced. And so not only was Simon just getting announced, we got a confirmation on when Simon will be dropping, and he will be dropping July 17th, ladies and gentlemen. So that more than likely means that we'll be getting a maintenance July 16th, which is that Thursday night. And then the Simon will be in the game early Friday morning. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Tell me down below what you all think about this stuff. You already heard my opinion on this Simon. Would love to hear yours. If you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend check out this video popping on the screen right now. It's a great piece of content. Guarantee you love it. I'll meet you over there. Before you leave, don't forget to drink water.